What's up, everyone? Welcome to the GASO Rundown, sponsored by Baylor Scott and White. I'm Michael Timmins here, along with Lyndon Cook. Lyndon, only the strong survive in live period, especially at a 4-day event with the GASO.
That's true.
Blue and Mass are out there, somewhere. Like right behind us, championship games are going on. But we wanted to bring you this GASO Rundown while it's still fresh in our minds. Lyndon, just kind of talk about the experience this week.
Man, live period is one of those events that it's this is where the eyes of not just Texas but the entire region of recruitment is. The eyes are on this event every single summer, and it's been weird with the COVID and all that stuff, but it was really, really awesome to get to experience a true live period event yet again. College coaches packing the stands all over the place, getting to evaluate kids with their own eyes, and you just love to see that,
right?
And it was true when I played at this event. It was true when you played at
Absolutely.
this event. Offers are out there at the live period GASO, and we saw that firsthand. Dudes, it's 2:00 on Sunday. The tournament's not even over yet, but we've already seen a boatload of offers go out from kids that were seen and evaluated by the coaches at this event. That's something that we as a staff just love to see for the kids and players in this tournament.
And I also think before we get into some of those offers you mentioned, I think it was great because we had every one of the Texas EYBL teams here in the house this weekend, including Team Griffin, to where we had a lot of matchups with independents and shoe teams.
For sure.
So a lot of these shoe teams use it as a prep as they leave. A lot of them today to go to Augusta for the Nike EYBL. But those kind of matchups, right off the bat, we had Drive Nation versus HC Toros.
Yep.
And the kid Shane Perales picked up an offer we'll talk about with Hard Simmons today. So there's just a lot of opportunities for kids to be playing in front of 80 to 100 college coaches on one court at a time. And all you really want as a college coach and a player, as a parent, is the opportunity to play in front of, throw scores out of there, compete hard,
Yep, exactly.
and you'll have an opportunity. So let's go ahead and get into some of these offers. I'll start. One kid that blew up this weekend.
Yeah, he did.
Athletically, a gift. He's a freak.
Yeah.
Chase Ross played with Drive Nation, EYBL, picked up North Texas and Texas A&M.
That's and deserved it. His elite quickness on the court. That's something that what didn't matter if they were playing an independent team or in their game against pro skills. Like he was an electric player out there, and college coaches picked up on that big time.
And I made a joke that if you're able to dunk on what the consensus would say maybe the best shot blocking guard in the country in Casey Wallace,
he is.
He caught him slipping. Hey, North Texas offered right after the game, and I think that's North Texas' MO. Hey, if you dunk on Casey Wallace, you get an offer.
That's fair.
So let's move on. Joshua Chesney, a guy at Sable that we followed for a few years now, finally got his first division offer.
Yep, Merrimack coming in and offering him, and he had a big weekend as well. Just tough, was putting the ball on the floor, getting to the hole, and still showing that he can knock down shots from the outside.
I think when he knocks down shots, he turns into a real mismatch because
he does.
He can play down inside in the four, has good touch, has good feet in the post, but when he's hitting the three, it's really hard for defenders to really key on what he's going to do.
Exactly.
So that's one kid that I really think benefited from this and was well deserving.
Yeah. Moving on, another kid that was seen by the coach who offered him at this event, Orlando Horton Jr. for Houston Hoops 16.
Yeah. As soon as we saw him tweet the offer to Texas Southern, Lyndon, you're like, yeah, I actually saw he was one of the coaches there.
Yeah, exactly. And that entire group is just so fun to watch, so well balanced. They go like 11 deep.
Yeah.
And between Orlando just running the show from the point spot, and then you add in one of the hottest prospects in the country in Wesley Yates. You got Malik Presley, who had a great weekend.
Absolutely.
And Kendrick DeLuna, who is just a massive presence inside. That group is fun to watch every time they step out on the court. And it was great to see Orlando get rewarded for his high level of play this summer with that Texas Southern offer.
Yeah, I think, and like we talked about, there was EYBL teams we had all EYBL teams from 15, 16, and 17s from Texas. So the talent was all over the place, and I'm glad some of these 16, and Houston Hoops 16s is one that I'm picking to really be there when it matters at the end of Peace Jam.
It doesn't even matter, like we were kind of talking about before the show, it doesn't matter if you're a Texas kid playing on a Texas EYBL team to come down here and get an offer. We had Oklahoma kid Caden Fry, plays with Team Griffin, comes down to Duncanville, and picks up an offer from Missouri Southern State and Arkansas Tech just from his level of play. If you come here, you will get offered. Doesn't matter what state you're from. We had the factory from Arizona.
Yep.
We had Montana Rebels all the way from Montana.
Colorado Collection's about to play in a championship right behind
exactly.
us right here.
They've been playing at a high level all weekend.
The Bahamas Jaguars.
Yeah. The coaches come here. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you can hoop, they will say, okay, who is this guy? Let's go get more information about him.
Absolutely, for sure. Moving into, unsigned seniors are still out here trying to figure some things out.
For sure.
And one guy that benefited from the live period was Isaiah Washington from the San Antonio Dream team out of Converse Judson. These JUCOs were following him around from the very first game.
Yeah, they were.
And two of them, Collin County and Paris, both pulled the trigger on offers. And I know they're about to another team. As an unsigned senior, they expect you to win games.
Yeah, they do.
And San Antonio Dream Team is about to play in a championship game right around behind us in the next couple minutes. And these coaches have been following him, and he's really improved his stock.
Exactly. I mean, as an older team with more experience, they expect you to play late into the day Sunday. But let's just face it, without Isaiah on the team, they're not playing late into Sunday. It's his level of performance that boosted not only his stock, but his team's ability to get more eyes on them and see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. And the final one we'll talk about, another guy that we've really fallen in love with on the GASO circuit, Shane Perales of HD Toros, picked up an offer from Hardin Timmins. Yeah. And like we mentioned at the beginning of this GASOcast, they got thrown into the fire.
Very early.
They've earned it, because if you know anything about the history of the HD Toros, they've been in our GASO live period and have played with some of the best teams in the state. Lou Martinez really competes with that HD Toros team.
Yeah, they almost they come into it taking a little personal with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Seeing the stands packed with college coaches. That, I mean, let's be honest. The Drive Nation's the team that brings them in.
Yeah.
But Toros are a team like that can use that stage to boost their own stock, and Shane Perales did that from the jump this weekend.
Absolutely.
Had a strong game. Shots aren't going to fall when you're playing against that much length as Drive Nation.
He was getting to his spots.
Exactly.
He looked apart, and I think, this is just weekend one of the live period, so I think more to come with him.
Definitely.
And I will say, Lou Martinez, I'll post actually the audio, but at halftime of that Drive Nation game, down I think 20, he said, "This isn't about what that score is. These coaches see that you're down 20 right now, and they want to see how you respond. They want to see how you fight."
Yeah.
And I think that was perfect. There were like I said, 60, 80 coaches packed on that court. For a kid like Shane Perales to keep going out there and battle, I think that really benefited him. So now let's move into a segment. We're going to just call this Stock Risers. Kids that really, benefited from this platform. Not necessarily got an offer this week, but I'll tell you for sure that coaches were talking about them. Mm-hmm. We have the benefit of sitting upstairs sometimes here at the Ducanviille Fieldhouse, and, we're talking to coaches. Coaches are asking us about players, and just to hear some of these names being brought up was really refreshing, and it just helps because next week there's another live period, so these coaches are going to add these kids to the list, whether they have offers or not, and just continue to evaluate them. And I'll start with Joseph Waring.
Yeah, man, this is the exact scenario that the shoe team versus independent team was made for. Playing JL3, you got Bryce Griggs, Terrence Arsenault, all these big name guys on one side of the court. Then ATX Lockdown, who's been very successful at our events this summer, get a chance to take a step up and fight against the big dogs, and they did. And Joseph Waring was I mean, let's face it, he was the reason they were in that game. 7 threes, 6 of them in the first half, tied at halftime. The kid has a pure stroke from the outside. If you give him any space, it was going in. Yeah. And JL3's class showed through at the end, and they were able to take over and win the game. But a kid like that, the win-loss, yeah, it sucks you lost, but for him to come out and play his best performance against JL3 with 80, 100 college coaches down there crowding the baseline, I mean that's what it's about. That's what this live period is meant for these independent circuit teams to come up and show that, these guys can play too.
Right. And at 6'5", he looks the part. You could watch these college coaches look down at the roster. They're probably looking at the ATA, or they're looking at the JL3 roster, but he hits a couple threes in that first half. Like, who is this kid?
Yeah, you got to scroll back to ATX Lockdown.
And from there, where teams play, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, a lot of these coaches were definitely asking questions about Joseph Waring. And I think, like I said, a great platform.
Definitely.
And he played his tail off all summer and spring long at the GASO. So that's one of the reasons why they were able to get that game with JO3. They earned it.
Yeah, they did.
And they earned to be a part of that platform. Moving on, Zayden High, a kid off of JO3 16s out of the San Antonio area, Smithson Valley, already has some divisional offers, but he really impressed me a lot this weekend with his toughness inside. He battled. Not the strongest guy, but has a frame to him, and he's willing to battle, finishes well around the rim, and a really good passer is what I saw this weekend.
In transition, that's the guy you wouldn't pick to lead the break for you,
Yeah.
but if he gets a rebound, he's taking those dribbles and facilitating, and if he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's running right there with his guards, has soft hands to catch it, take it to the rim, and finish through contact.
With both hands, and honestly, all those EYBL 16s all went at it this weekend.
Oh man, they did.
And there's plenty of time that 2023 class, and he really stood out to me. And there's a kid off of another UIB team that you want to talk about, Pro Skills.
Oh yeah, Kieran Lindsay, man, that guy, he had his hands full in kind of the game of the weekend, so to speak, when we had Drive Nation up against Pro Skills. A kid who first weekend with Pro Skills, matched up against Vincey Wachukwu. That is a literal tall task with Vince in there, but he held his own, was able to score, impressed me with his quickness, with finishing around the rim. If you take too long, if you take time to gather yourself and just make sure you get it up there and in, Vince is sending that into the wall, but just was able to catch, go up quick, explode, and finish. And then he showed some footwork, up and unders, all that stuff. The stuff that as a fundamental post guy, I love to see. It's the stuff I teach.
Right.
He's doing that out there on the biggest stage and scoring the ball well, and I really like seeing him do that.
Yeah, and for a team like Pro Skills that likes to run and go fast, a big like him that's able to go up and down the court. One thing I was impressed with, he went at Vince, tried to dunk on him. Vince blocked it, but he had the wherewithal to catch it right back up and stick it right back
up. Yeah.
So just for him to go at that, I expect him to really, he's already getting D1 offers now. He's going to really blow up, I think, out in Augusta at the Peach Jam.
Yeah, he is.
Some more guys you want to talk about?
Yeah, no. One of the guys I've been seeing a lot of this weekend, a 2023 prospect, Carmelo Adkins, really smooth. That's the word that comes to mind when you talk about him. Everything he does just looks effortless. He's going as fast as he can, but it just looks so just silky going to the rim with Euro steps. Just really polished scorer, and he can shoot that thing from the outside too.
Yeah.
Was really good with him. Another guy, a JL3 guy that I liked this weekend, was with Houston Hoops and wasn't really in a role that let him succeed. But then Jordan Williams slides over to JL3, and man, he was the difference in some of their games late, where he was making big shots from the outside with that frame. It's almost like a running back style frame, just getting to the rim and finishing. Was really good to see him elevate his game to the level of competition this weekend.
Especially in that Pro Skills game. He made plays down the stretch, and he was very efficient in his role, where Bryce Griggs had the ball a lot, and there were some other pieces around there. Anytime he had to make a play, he did.
Yeah.
Tough turnaround jumpers, hit some wide open threes, played some defense. He's going to be – I always hate saying glue guys because I don't want to take it, but, for JL3 to succeed out in Augusta, he's going to have to make plays for them on both ends of the court, and he did that this weekend to keep him in games.
Yep. And the last guy I'll hit on here, we've talked about him this summer before, but for Texas hard work and the success they had this weekend, you know about the guards.
And as of right now, like as we're doing this, they're 6-0, another team that's about to play in the championship game.
Yep, exactly. They're you know about the guards with Silas and Jerry and Matthew and Eddie and those guys. But the guy who's really kind of elevated his stock more than we thought he would this weekend was Jordan Balderas. And because that kid, he's everywhere. He fights for every single rebound, takes charges, blocks shots. He's one of those that is the prototypical undersized big because he does everything. He can step out and hit shots from 15 to 18. He can put the ball on the deck, go up and get to the free throw line or finish at the rim. And for him to have the weekend that he's having with the success that hard work has had is great for us to see. Another kid who played primarily on the GASO circuit this summer, stepping up in front of all these coaches and showing what he can do.
No, he for a team that has a lot of finesse guards that know how to put the ball in the basket, his presence on the court is one of the main reasons why they are.
Need somebody to get in there and mix it up, and he does that role very well.
Absolutely. So now let's transition to just some teams we kind of like that, we were excited to see. And I'll start off with Texas Dynasty.
Yeah.
A team that, have a trio of guards that was really excited to see, and they stepped up and played well with Kobe Henderson, Avery Jackson, and Nick Jett. What are your initial thoughts on this squad?
Dude, all three of those kids can make shots at an extremely high level. And it seemed like every time we'd turn around, it was, oh, do you see Nick Jett had 20 in this one?
Yeah.
And then no, this time it was Avery. This time it was Colby, because all three of them can just shoot the lights out. And you throw those three high-level scorers with an inside presence like Austin Page, who had a really big-time weekend for
Could
him.
also be easily on a stock riser for sure.
Easily. He deserves a mention because he was tough as nails inside, showing some nice finishes around the hoop. And then add in Kasai Burton, Ben Johnson, some of the dudes of that style of play. They all, a rising tide lifts all boats, and they had a rising tide this weekend because all those guys were boosted by their level of play this weekend.
And Zach, the head coach from the Dynasty, always likes to play the toughest opponents
Oh, yeah,
possible. He loves those big games. And one thing before we move on that I'll say, Avery Jackson was, as I'm listening and talking to coaches, literally every level of basketball, a coach has inquired about Avery Jackson this week. From the Division III, Division II, Division I, everybody's still trying to figure him out, but there's a lot of coaches very impressed with him.
Turned a lot of heads. It'll be interesting to see where he lands.
Another guy, like I talked about with Shane Perales, that is going to benefit from 2 more live period weekends.
For sure.
These coaches are collecting more and more data, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't pick up an offer here.
Right.
Maybe even this week before the next live period, because a lot of coaches are going home impressed. Another team you want to talk about, TJ Ford's team, Team Ford Elite.
Team Ford had a good weekend as well, a deep run. They're another one we talked about. We said they're still here.
Man, we might have to get off this podcast if these matchups are about to tip off.
Honestly, but and the story starts with their front court, and that's Darius Goodman and Brian Atumnu. And those dudes are just so well versed in their roles. Darius is one of those kids who's going to score it off the bounce, catch, shoot, all that stuff. Able to put away. I don't know what he's averaging this weekend, but it's got to be 15, 18, maybe more. And then Brian Atumnu, one of those guys who just does everything. He's a defensive stopper, blocks shots, gets rebounds, can run the floor, and then on offense he's going to put it on the deck, use his body control, do body man, protect it, get into contact, and finish at the rim. Something that really helped him this weekend.
There was a really big buzz around a lot of their games. College coaches seem to gravitate to where they were playing, and they sure impressed. So let's move on to some players that we just want to quickly mention, performance-wise. Bryce Griggs, man, one of those kids that we've wanted to see. I've seen him a few times this summer, but he finally got the opportunity since owned the state. Hasn't really played another GASO, but he came and he delivered in big time fashion.
Yeah.
In one of the first, probably the showcase game of the night, Thursday night versus Pro Skills.
Exactly. We've said it a million times in a million different ways, but there is no denying the talent level that Bryce Griggs has. The things that he makes master level skills look like second nature.
Yeah.
And just the smoothness. It's one thing to see Bryce Griggs play where he's hitting shots and all that, but this was a different beast entirely because he was playing with a chip on his shoulder with something to prove. He was getting downhill and finishing. He was making the extra pass, doing the little things that when a kid with that much talent puts in that much effort, the sky's literally the limit for a kid like that. And Bryce was excellent.
Barely missed a game-winning 3 that he thought was down. 24 points off of no threes.
Efficiency with
no
that,
free throws. So 12, and they were all just surgical buckets. And I spoke to him briefly after the game, and I said, hey, a lot of people watching, that's what they want to see. You put on a performance where you kept your team in it and made winning plays down the stretch. And like I said, you play that game with Pro Skills and JO3 back and forth, Bryce Griggs is going to find a way to win a couple of those. But I was very just impressed with the way he went about it. When his team needed him the most, he was there and gave him a shot at the end to win.
Yeah, and one of those guys on the Pro Skills team that actually ended up carrying his team to a win. I mean, what haven't we said about Cason Wallace?
I think anytime we mention him on this podcast, it's exactly what we say. But I do think it's time to give him his due. That as much as everybody wants to talk about how much he plays defense, the kid can go get a bucket.
And he proved that in a big way in the second half against Drive Nation.
Oh,
man.
my goodness.
He,
20 of his 23 or
yeah.
21 of his 22, whatever it was.
Whatever the numbers were, man, just
Drive Nation got up, I think, 15 or 16 in that game.
just looks down the bench, grabs his team by the scruff of the neck and says, we're not out of this fight. Making some of the shots, the corner three is one that stands out in my mind, where he has no business just ripping over the guy and shooting a little fade over there.
Never even brought the ball down. Yeah.
He has no business making that shot for everybody saying, he's a driver, he's a tough guard. A guy without an extremely high skill level, that shot hits the back of the backboard.
Absolutely.
But Kaysen, that didn't happen. He knocked that shot down, knocked down a lot more tough shots on that stretch right there. And
in front of the biggest stage, Chris Beard, Bill Self,
Porter Moser, everybody's there.
I mean, those EYBL teams kind of play matchups in the evening, right after dinner, and the hospitality that we have here. And Kaysen put on a show.
Yep.
And it's just one thing about Kaysen Wallace to where, no disrespect to him, but it almost took live period for coaches to see him in person to really fall in love with him, because everything he does on the court potentially helps keep jobs for college coaches, because they know he's going to do everything they need to win games.
It's a safe bet, yeah.
So now one guy I liked, and I popped over yesterday to see them, max level 17s, Keontae Williams out of the Lubbock area.
Man, this kid, he's as good as advertised for me just getting my eyes on him for the first time this summer.
Legit 6'10", first of all.
Legitimate. I mean, he's every bit. He's 7 foot with the afro.
Yeah.
He just so smooth. He catches the ball, and I basically think it's going to be 2 points either way. He can either shoot over the defense with a little face-up game, or he's going to rip to the rim and use his body to contort and finish. But a lot of the times, anytime he touches the ball on the half-court offense, good things happen.
And what I liked the most about him, I knew he can shoot. I knew he had a finesse game at 6'10", long, good on the ground. He really banged and competed inside.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he
did. Helped that max-level teams get some extra possessions. And that's one of the things that I know a lot of college coaches want to see, how tough and how physical he was, and I think he stepped up. And, a lot of coaches checked that box off seeing that.
Yeah.
Moving on, a football player that really impressed this weekend, Terrence Carter from Drive Nation Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid looked like a basketball player to me. A frame that screams linebacker, tight end, whatever position he plays. But, he has some finesse to his game. He's a freak athlete.
Yeah, he is.
There was a lot to love about him, man.
Yeah.
He kind of glides in transition. He had a scoop up and under layup I liked a lot. And honestly, I think, I was very impressed, honestly, with that whole Drive Nation Austin team. They have some guys there that really played well. And like I said, they've been here playing on Sunday as well. But Terrence Carter really stood out for me.
Yeah,
played earlier this year with the Drive Nation EYBL team. Now transitions over a little closer to where he's from.
Right.
But no, that's one kid that college coaches might be looking, hey, you want to play both at our school?
Yeah, no.
I think he's already committed to Louisiana Lafayette,
yes.
possibly.
No, speaking of physicality, dude, but he does the things that you're like, I mean, it's one thing for a football player to come out here and dunk and just bowling ball into the lane and get fouls and all that stuff. But he's putting it on the deck, one dribble, sidestep, hitting a pull-up jumper where he gets off the ground and knocks that thing down.
Yeah. As soon as you're looking at him like, this is just going to be a bowling ball football player. Very skilled.
A lot more than meets the eye with that kid's game.
No, absolutely. One kid that really balled out, I think it was at the Bryan College Station, GASO, that you weren't there. Probably on a little vacation for you.
Definitely.
But Jaden Clemens of Pros Coast Lee, point guard. Man, he just does it all.
Yeah.
I love his pace, and that's one thing we talked about previously on a podcast earlier this spring. But his pace, his craftiness, his leadership, man, he's a true point, and really led Pros Coast Lee this week.
You can't push him off of what he wants to do. He almost makes up his mind ahead of time. He's going to get to his spot, and depending on how the defense plays it, he's going to knock the shot down, kick it to an open teammate, and that's about all you can do.
Yeah.
And nowhere is that better evidence than what he did at the end of their game with I think they played Texas Playmakers 2023, and gets the ball up top of the key. Waning seconds, they're down one, and he says, "Okay, y'all aren't going to send a double at me? Are you kidding? I'm going to go dribble right to the elbow, knock down the game winner." And it was decisions like that all night that what led him to really kind of boost his stock this weekend, because a kid like that can knock down shots, get to the rim, and talks as a leader on the court. I mean, every college coach wants that.
Yeah. No, I mean, stat line's 25, 8 and 6. Does everything
It's
great.
tough.
Frame 2023 kid that, regardless of offers, his name was highlighted, circled, whatever these college coaches, the way they
Exactly.
do their things with our college coaches packets. He's been identified for sure. And we'll finish off this segment in the GASOCast talking about a prospect that, while we had 200 plus college coaches in the building, I think a lot of them look at this prospect and are like, hey, if we get him, we won't have him for a long time.
No.
Because I don't like to put stamps on kids, but this is a pro. And we're talking about big Vince Iwuchukwu.
Yeah, the biggest kid in the gym, I mean, was a shame that we don't get to see him as much now that he's moved on from S.A. Cole, but man, did he have himself a set of games just – I mean, there is a goal on Blue 2 that we've been worried about. We've been eyeing it all weekend. It's like the support arm's not all the way locked, and we're like, Vince is going to tear that thing down.
Yeah.
It's going to come all the way down. We're going to have to cancel the Blue 2 court at the GASO for the rest of the weekend. Thankfully, it survived. Thank you, Vince, for not taking it all the way down.
Shout out Marcel Bryant, Pro Skills Austin, that actually broke Green 2 for a while, pushing those games back. But yeah, no, Vince.
Oh, man.
For as physical as he is inside, he's hitting threes.
That nice little over-the-shoulder fadeaway. That's
His
so
touches,
nice.
Anytime he shoots the ball, I think, that has a chance of going in.
Yeah.
I mean, dunked on a kid that we were really impressed with Kyron Lindsey.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a collision at the rim. He played with a nasty mean streak. He already plays with a lot of emotion, which I like. But when he's able to score from 15-foot area, I mean, it's really tough to guard.
He's always had the high level skill that you don't expect with a kid that size.
Right.
But the fact that he's able to mix it up and put his shoulder into dudes and get where he wants on the court a lot better than he has in the past. I mean, this he's going to be a pro if he can keep moving at that trajectory.
Yeah, and I think Pete Jimmy's going to have he's going to be big time out there. And I'm
Yep.
excited to kind of see what other national media and other colleges start to look at and what they think
For
as
sure.
far as going forward. But as far as that, we're going to wrap up the GASOcast. I will say that while we listed on a few names, I think the staff in general, all week long, tweeting from all these courts. If you were balling like we were talking about you from tweets, media coverage, I think that's the one thing that we love being a part of with the GASO.
For sure.
We are here with an open mind, ready to see players put on a show. And we're going to talk about you. 8 threes on Green 3, we're going to see that. We're going to talk about it, and I think that a lot of the players are really excited to play on our GASO platform.
Yep, got a lot of stuff coming out in this coming week for the guys who
Exactly. Like I said, this is only a little 30-minute episode, but, there's going to be a lot more content, quotes, more stock riser stuff, so stay tuned for that. We have another GASO turning around, another live period. Coach is already saying, hey, when does the next live period start? It's going to be Friday in the Keller ISD area at a couple schools out there. So we're excited just to turn this back around. And as always, little shorter staff this weekend. We'll go find Mass and Blue and let them know they missed out on a good one. But we'll be posting this Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo. Comment what you think. Talk about some of the guys that you like or guys we may have not touched on that you think deserve some praise. But as always, Michael Timmins, Lyndon Cook, and this is the GASOcast. Thank you.